All right, I think it's working. Hello, everybody. I am Coach Training EDU's founder, John Andrew Williams. There we go. We got it down. Welcome to this. Is our first live. I'm going to be answering Q&As. I'm super psyched. This is something that I'm hoping to do every week and answer your biggest questions that you have about coaching and the coaching world. And I have 6 questions here already queued up. I will be looking to see if we have anyone show up in chat, say something, ask a question in real life time. But I'm excited. First off, my name is John Andrew Williams. I am the co-founder of Coach Training EDU. I have been looking and meaning to do lives like this for a while. And here we are, ready to go. I plan on going for about 20 minutes here. I love a good Q&A. And the first question, just to kick it off, is what is a life coach? A life coach, it comes from, it's a metaphor, right? It looks at the word coach, which comes from an English word meaning a bus or a carriage, something that is designed to get you from one place to another. It was used in the idea of an athlete, that athletes would use coaches to get where they want to go in their sport. And what happened in the realm of coaching around the 80s, you have Tim Gallwey's inner game of tennis that came up in 1977. So now you have the inner game of tennis. You have all these ideas of sports psychology and helping people get improve themselves in sport, and then that ties into a lot of what was happening in positive psychology. And so life coaching uses a lot of what's happening in humanistic psychology in the 50s, sports psychology, positive psychology. It ties a lot of that together into a package of helping people get to where they want to go. So the coach in my mind, the life coach in my mind, does 2 things. One is it clarifies what you really want in your life. And second, a coach helps you design a pathway to achieve it. Now, when you're looking at all of the definitions and all of the core competencies of a coach and what a coach does and does not do, I see coaching as at its core. What a coach does is a coach will empathetically listen to you and listen to you with curiosity and to help you find ways or ideas in yourself. No things happening in you that's hard to hear in yourself. It's hard to move things forward sometimes. So when you're coaching, you're looking at asking yourself, what is coaching? What is coaching about? A lot of it is, what a coach does is just listen very deeply, listen to values, listen to, different ideas of what it is to create, create what you want in your life. So yeah, a life coach, someone who clarifies what you really want and helps you design a life to achieve it. Right? How does coaching differ from being a mentor? Coaching differs from being a mentor in that the definition of a mentor is someone who's already been there before you. So somebody who has already crafted a life or has crafted a pathway to achieve what they want to achieve, and now they're helping someone else achieve the same things. That's the definition of a mentor. A coach doesn't necessarily have to have achieved what you want to achieve in order to work with a coach. So let's say you might work with a coach on, let's say as, exercising or food choice or sleeping or anything in the wellness realm or in the executive realm. You want to establish another company or move things forward in a different way or move your team forward. A coach might not necessarily even have a team that they're moving forward or have moved forward. They might work as a solo coach, but it doesn't matter because a coach is trained at being able to elicit values, empowered perspectives, use tools like the future self, inner critic, literally help you get out of your own way to accomplish what you want to accomplish. That's what a coach does, and that's how it differs from mentors. So mentors would still give advice. Coaches don't give advice. A lot of what coaching is around is helping you figure out what's important to you. What is it you're really after? What values do you have? How do you align your life with those values? How do you make choices based on values? What's the empowered perspective? What's a disempowered perspective? When do you find yourself tapping into that perspective? When is that perspective challenging for you? These are all the things that a life coach might do that a mentor may do. But I think what a mentor does most is give advice. This is what you need to do next. These are the areas you should look at. This is the lay of the land. This is how this works. There's a lot of value in mentorship. And I think finding a good mentor, being a good mentor, I mean, these are really important things, really useful things to have in life. And so I think from the standpoint of the difference between a coach and a mentor, that's the biggest one for me is still this advice giving. Who's giving the advice and how is it coming up? Here's another question. How do I know if life coaching is the right career step for me? It's a great question. Trying to think back to when I knew it was the right step for me. I studied classics in college. So I studied Latin and ancient Greek. That was my major. And when I was a senior or junior, I was really into this idea of becoming a professor in classics. And so I went down that path even more. And when I was a senior in college, I was asked if I could teach Latin at a school in Providence, Rhode Island, a high school in Providence, Rhode Island. And I thought, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do. I loved teaching, and it just made sense. Amois, my wife, she found coaching and volunteered me to be one of the practice clients for someone in her coach training. So she had decided that this is exactly what she wants to do. Let's at least do the first bit of training, see what comes out of it. So she did, and she loved it. She thought, this is what I want to do. Like, this is how I want to help people. This is how I want to interact with people. It just made sense for her. And she knew right away. When I was a practice client for people in her class, I thought to myself, coaching is absolutely 100% amazing. Like for me as a client, what I'm getting out of this conversation is so valuable that it just made everything else make sense. I didn't have this element anymore of, it just so much clarity in my life that from a client standpoint, I knew that there's something here. And so that was the moment for me. My first introduction to coaching was as a coaching client. I think a lot of people who are taking, coach training, they've never been a coaching client before. They hop, they look at it, they look at the website, they look at what you do, they say, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I think that makes a lot of sense, for people to hop in that way, if they just know it. But I think if you want to know if coaching is the right career step for you, hire a coach and get coached, get coaching. You will learn so much from being coached that you'll know right away if this is for you or not. And once you start working with a number of coaches and you realize what coaching can do in your own life, that would be the very easy, very easy step to knowing if it's the right career path. The other thing I know in the past couple of years I've seen is when people are getting coach trained, the two basic places to go are to work for yourself or to work in an organization. Most people, when they started coaching, you had to work for yourself because people weren't hiring coaches. It wasn't the kind of thing that it was even available to people to be hired. What I've seen in the last couple years is that more and more people are being hired as coaches in organizations. So in that sense, is it the career step? Absolutely. I know in the past month, maybe 10 people have told me that they were hired or have been hired, or their coach training played a factor in the employer hiring them and being excited about that skill set that they're bringing it into the organization. So I think that's exciting for me to see that happen more, and to see that come into play. I've seen a pattern of people who are successful in establishing a coaching practice. And one of the biggest things I see are people who are comfortable networking. And that word networking, when I was teaching Latin, I didn't know anything about networking. I didn't know what networking was. I got a book on it and I read about it. And the definition that I liked the most is that networking is the giving and exchange of information and knowledge for the benefit of everybody. And networking at its core is letting people know what you need and then finding out what other people most need and then seeing if you can connect them with someone who can help them fill that need. For example, let's say you need someone to help with putting together a website. Well, you ask people, your friends, like, hey, I need help putting together a website. Do you know anybody? That's networking at its very core, like very, very basic level. As you get more comfortable with the concept, networking from a coaching standpoint, I see is how well connected to the community of the people you want to work with are you? For example, if you want to work with students, are you connected with schools? If you want to work in the health and wellness industry, are you connected with are you connected with your audience? Do you already have a health and wellness practice? Are you already working as a trainer for people? What are the things that you're already doing? People who I see are the most successful. They're already connected in some way to the target audience they want to coach, or they have a very clear path to getting in front of that target audience. For example, one person I'm working with, her mom is in basically a care home, and the people running the organization asked her to put on a presentation for the adult caregivers of people who are at the home, not necessarily the people at the home, but the caregivers of those people. And so the organization said, hey, can you do this? And she thought, this is fantastic. This is exactly the target audience that she wants to work with. And now she has a very clear pathway between being able to present or give a presentation or provide value in some way to them, and to go to many other these organizations that help in the same way. And so she has a really clear path, a super clear path to success in this. So yeah, I mean, this feels like that factor, like how connected are you, is one of the things I see. So if and as a desire, like for yourself, I want to help people. I have a specific audience in mind of people who I want to help, and I'm connected to that audience. Those are all really strong indications that you're most likely going to be successful as a coach if you put the work in. And the work looks like providing value to people sustainably. And for me, when I was building my coaching practice, it was around students. And so I would look for opportunities to present to students. And when I did that, it was, I went to schools and I found, opportunities to provide value and say, this is what it looks like. This is, what motivation can look like. This is what, future self looks like. This is what, how you deal with your inner critic. All of these core life coaching skills, I tried to share. I tried to share as much as I could. And every time I shared in front of an audience, it seemed like someone else would want to be my client. And it just went from, one presentation to another presentation. And, that led to another presentation. And I built my client base basically by networking, giving presentations, providing value to my target audience. And then referrals clicked in around 10, 15 people. Once I got to 10, 15 current clients. And then from there, I just kept going. It just took off on its own. But yeah, that's how you know if the career is right for you. From a business standpoint too, I think that's important to look at. Which leads to next question: how can I get clients as a coach? Providing value. To find a way to provide value to people you want to coach, and to do it sustainably. That's the trick. Can you find a way to sustainably work and provide value to people again and again? If you can't, then that's your work. You got to find out how to do that. If you can, then you're good to go. So again, this comes down to presentations. Do you have a free ebook? Are you maybe meeting one-on-one, providing sample coaching? Meeting one-on-one, providing sample coaching is the hardest to make sustainable. When you're giving presentations, I think that's the easiest to make sustainable, but it's the hardest to get going. And that's the hardest thing. I think it's from 0 to 5, getting from your 0 to 1 is probably the hardest. That first client, landing that first paying client is probably the hardest. Going from 1 to 5 is as hard in many ways from going from 0 to 1. Once you get to 5 current clients, that seems to be a magic number for many coaches, where if you've done the work to get to 5, the task then becomes to do that same amount of work or that same kind of work, but to do it sustainably while you're also balancing and juggling your 5 clients. Once you get to about 10 clients, then it really does become more of a balance. How can you balance this out? And once you get to 10 clients, then referrals kick in. If you've done the work to get to 10, most likely you're going to get to 20. And then it really becomes a matter of how can I do this sustainably? It's just so much hustle. There's so much rejection, so much you just doing the work for the sake of that larger mission and vision that you have in mind, and to work empathetically for the sake of others. That's the deal, is to keep going even when you don't immediately get those results, and don't stop. I was watching a Q&A with a comedian I really love, and the audience member says something like, "What's your advice to a new comedian?" And the comic says, "Start, do it often, and don't stop no matter what." And it seems so simple, but that's kind of it. Start, provide value, do it consistently, and don't stop no matter what. And it really struck me, the simplicity of it. There's so much that goes into it, but if you really want to be a successful coach, it's possible. It's incredibly fulfilling. And some of the first steps I would take is get yourself, at least 2 or 3 coaching sessions, see what it's like, and start taking the path. So there's a couple more questions, but we'll save them because I want to keep these to around 20 minutes, 20-minute Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm John Andrew Williams, and this is I'm the president here at Coach Training EDU, and we did it. We did our first Q&A. Bye, everyone.